Welcome to the Boone Podcast. I'm Bret Boone, and today on the program, I sit down with an all-star and a World Series champion.
I sacrificed a lot to come to New York. I wanted to be a part of something special.
He made me a better player, a better person.
Roy Halladay is my guy, man. He was tough.
All right, welcome everybody to the Bret Boone Podcast. Bret is, I believe, at meetings, or he's coming back from Texas or something. So I'm Rich Herrera from the Infinity Sports Network, joined right now by longtime Major League pitcher Al Leiter, joining us here on the Boone Podcast. You know, day after 162 is always tough around Major League Baseball, isn't it?
I don't know. Are we in the playoffs or aren't we?
Exactly. Some people are
actually, Rich, I got lucky enough in 1999, and I think Aaron Boone was on the Reds at the time. I was either going to pitch game one against Arizona, and we had to wait for the Reds to see if they won in Milwaukee. And this is when Major League Baseball did not have all the games on at the same time.
Right.
There's an absolute reason for that. I was watching one of the shows this morning, and they were saying, "Oh, isn't it so great that everybody plays?" Yeah, they do it so that when a team that's playing on the West Coast, I think it was actually Adam Wainwright, who was with the Cardinals, and they waited until find out if the team in front of them lost, they didn't pitch him. So anyway, yeah, it's bad if you're not in the playoffs, one of the 12, but you'd be you're pretty jacked up right now, flying to wherever you have to go, or a home game tomorrow.
Well, you remember, when you're in that position, whether we're going to play on or not, some guys go, "Hey, listen, pack your bags like we're going no matter what. Let's have that positive energy the last couple of days of the season."
Fair. Yeah. If the numbers say you're in it, you actually absolutely have to play as though you're going to move on and fly to some respective city, especially obviously if you're just trying to get in, as we saw yesterday with the teams that made it as the 6th seed with the Reds.
By the way, I do have to mention something, Al. You've got the best backdrop of anybody we've ever had on the podcast before. That ain't
honestly, bad. I say this right now, Rich. I don't have a dig me room, although I have some cool stuff.
Right.
I don't know what to do with it. If you only knew the crap I have, like everywhere else.
Right.
But yeah, I was lucky enough to win a couple World Series. The Roberto Clemente Award is a real nice one. The family.
Right.
Tom Seaver, my idol up there, the late Tom Seaver. I was a big Mets fan growing up. So I got a couple cool things.
Yeah. No, you got some good hard work. I mean, Boonie's got his gold gloves, a Silver Slugger. He has one of his dad's gold gloves because Bob had so many, he didn't know what to do with it, so Bret lifted one. Now, I do have my salute to the Leiter family behind me.
What do you
got? Here
got?
in my office, I've got my Yankee hat and my Texas Ranger hat.
Oh. Okay.
So no matter what, whether I'm talking to you or Mark, I've got it all covered, right, with the kids.
You do. What do you got, the Yankee Doodle Dandy hat there?
Yeah, I got the Yankee Doodle Dandy hat. I'm ready for 4th of July. And, I live in Virginia, so I'm ready for anything that's patriotic. Let me ask you this, because, the Boones are known for having that 3rd generation of ball players, and maybe one day they'll get that 4th in there as well. Although Bret's son-in-law is now playing for the Braves, Nicky Knox. Nick Allen's a son-in-law. For you, which was tougher, watching your brother make it or your nephew or your son?
Oh, without question, my son. Yeah, it's a weird dichotomy, I guess, because I'm obviously very grateful, and I think it's amazing that my son was able to get to the big leagues. And along the ride, as any parent, I guess, whatever your kids do, and you put some effort into it as a parent, taking them to practice, et cetera, or whatever it is, you don't know what they're going to amount to or what level they end at. And certainly with Jack, watched them all along like any other parent. His kids playing ball. In my case, he was a pitcher, which I didn't want him to be. I actually want him to be Robin Ventura, left-handed hitting third baseman, which I thought would have been cool. And not to be. He eventually got better and better, and there was an option for him to be drafted out of high school. I wanted him to go to college. He went to Vanderbilt, et cetera. And then he gets drafted by the Rangers, and here he is in the big leagues. But no doubt, I thought what you were going to tell me, Rich, was that was it harder to play and the stress of that, or to watch your kid? And there's no doubt it's much harder to watch.
Is there a moment where you just kind of pinch yourself, like, Yeah, because listen, everybody, no matter whether you're a big leaguer or you're a little league dad, when you see your kid and the bassinet, you're like, one day, maybe, just maybe. What was your moment where you're like, this is really going on?
Well, in his senior year, he really turned it to like next level stuff. And he was throwing, so backtrack. Like I do stuff at MLB Network, right? And I got a chance, thank you for the bio, to play 19 years in big leagues, did a lot of cool stuff. And when I hear that pitching is better today, and maybe Bret will have a different viewpoint, especially now having been this snapshot of him being a hitting coach in the big leagues. This is not like get off my lawn stuff. Pitching to me isn't better. Stuff is better. We equate stuff with velocity. My son, he's barely 6'1", and he touches 100. There's training in that. When I came up and I got to the big leagues in 1987, I'm in a rotation with Ron Guidry, Tommy John Candelaria, Rick Rhoden, like amazing. I'm 21 years old, and these guys, Tommy John was 45, 46 years old. I mean,
right.
What I was taught was to read swings, understand count leverage, and get people out. It was never about like, hey, you're throwing 94. We need for you to throw 96.
What's your spin rates?
Yeah, no, all of that. And I think it would get it. Like I assume, because I liked information, no question. But I would think at times when I'm watching the games, hitters and pitchers, that they're becoming very robotic based on data analysis, video analysis, high-speed technology. We're losing the flow of just players to play,
Right.
So I think that's part of it. So
it's becoming robotic at a point. So
yes.
Okay. So when you have Jack, how much do you put in your 2 cents? How much do you want to back off? Because I'm sure he's got a pitching coach and he's got everybody that's looking out for him. He's at Vandy. He's got coaches. Now he's in the big leagues. What's your role? How do you impart this wisdom that you have of this long career that you've had, so successful, but respect him as a man?
It's a great question, because it's hard. I bite my tongue more often than not. I know that there's been enough, video showing me through when he was in College World Series and all that, and now, and I know my role as not just a dad, but an ex-big leaguer. I have always told Jack, right on down to the U14 coaches or whoever, Jack, there's a lot of information out there. There's a lot of different ways to skin a cat, carve a turkey, pick your idiom, and listen to whoever, gather the information. You decide based on what you think would work or not. And then you do your own sifting and editing on your own. So I've never discouraged and encouraged him to look and seek and get as much information as possible. So with that said, my conversation is this: I'm a dad first, and yes, then I talk baseball. I'm very careful of when to say it, how to say it. Weave it in maybe over a couple days, or not right away, especially if it was an outing that didn't have favorable results. And that's it. And you know what I did, Rich? I'll tell you, when Jack I was still with the Mets, apartment on the Upper East Side, and I got him into liking baseball players. Like his favorite players as a little kid, I remember Ichiro was a big thing. He loved Ichiro. Loved Miguel Cabrera and there was Scott Rowland across the board. And I'm playing with the Mets at the time. I finished my career with the Marlins and the Yankees, and it was never wear this hat. It was just like players, and he got to like the game as a result of liking players. And he became a fan and a student of the game as a result of just watching. And I think that was a really cool thing for him, even to this day, because he really loves the sport. I mean, he loves winning and et cetera, and he loves watching good baseball.
Did he grow up like Brett and Aaron, going to the ballpark, hanging out, being a bat boy? I mean, when Dusty Baker came on the show and he said the reason why Darren Baker, remember Darren Baker at the World Series almost got trucked. He said,
Snow.
JT Snow saved him. He said the reason why he wanted Darren to be on the field is when Dusty was playing for the Dodgers, he would see Bret and Aaron out there running around like little maniacs on the field, and both of them could catch baseballs behind their back. And he said, if I ever get a boy, I want him to come to the ballpark. I want him to be in uniform. I want him to be like the Boones. And we never knew that until Dusty came on the show and told us. So when you had your son, did he get a chance to grow up like the Boones, being around the ballpark, being in the clubhouse?
No. And what I retired when he was 6.
Okay.
So he has faint memory of it. Yes, he was around, because even as a little boy running around as a toddler, or, up to 6 years old, I'd get him out after the game and run out on the field and roll him some balls and, get him to get a bat and hit in the outfield, whatever. So it was in his DNA, but he doesn't remember. If you were to ask Jack now, it's kind of a faint memory.
Right.
But
like your first trip to Disneyland, you don't remember, but your mom and dad have the pictures of you in Mickey Mouse, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and that's one thing that I wished I'd maybe, if there was one thing, to have kids a little sooner than I did, so that there was a more vivid memory. Actually, I'll say this. After retiring, I finished with the Yankees, and I went and right away I started doing Yankee games at the S Network. And that kind of kept me around the game, right? The TV stuff. And then MLB Network really provided an opportunity for Jack as a little guy. It was 4th grade when I started at the MLB Network. He, we go to the All-Star game. I bring him with me. World Series. We have studio on the field, as you know, and he'd be sitting there with me. So that was very impressionable for him. That's awesome.
Did he get those questions like Aaron and Bret got of, oh, so what's it like to be the son of a major leaguer? How did he handle that? Aaron, I think, handled it well. Bret was just a jerk about it.
Well, I hope Jack's not a jerk about it, but early on, yes, when Jack started becoming a potential prospect for Division I college scholarships, the whole perfect game thing, he started getting a little bit of a name because of what was coming out of his arm, and everybody's like, oh, Al Leiter's kid. Oh, look at this, Al Leiter's kid. And it probably went through right on up until the year he got drafted at Vanderbilt. He was still like, wow, this is great. Jack Leiter. Oh, Al, his dad. And really that has now subsided, almost completely gone, which is awesome. Because, often they would say, hey, you're going to be in the stands. Where are you sitting? I'm like, no, this is about Jack. No, please do not find me.
Right.
Some of the places
in Omaha, right? You're on TV as much as anybody else.
Yeah. I remember I'm sitting with one of my daughters, and none of them wanted to sit next to me because at some point they knew they would zoom in. So, and then it's hard because you're sitting there like, come on, Jack. But you don't want to look, yeah. So, but one of my daughters, she's like, Dad, stop. The TV's coming on. Stop. I'm like, I can't help it. I want to go do his thing.
Now, have you had this moment? Because here's the one thing about the Boone boys is, Bob was Ray's son.
Yeah.
And then when Bret broke in, that's Bob's son. And then that's Bob's other son, Aaron. And then Aaron was always Bret's little brother.
Yeah.
Until the point that Aaron became the manager of the Yankees. When Bret went from this podcast to the Rangers, the headlines were either podcaster gets promoted to hitting coach, and everybody's like, what are they hiring a podcaster for? Or Aaron Boone's brother gets big league job. So Bret, it just sticks in his craw that now he has to be introduced as Aaron's brother. So have you had that moment yet where you get introduced? Oh, hey, I want you to meet Jack. This is his dad. This is Jack's dad.
Yeah. No, I'm telling you, it's starting. Obviously Jack's getting his feet under him. Establishing somewhat, had a nice first year this, with the Rangers. So, it's starting to get that momentum where, it's not every article, Jack Leiter, the son of Al Leiter, that's gone, which I'm glad for that. But that's interesting for Bret. Yeah. The family dynamic and the semantics behind it. Now, look, I don't have my grandfather, my father in it, but really proud that I was unaware of this when Jack got called up. My brother Mark sent me a little snippet of an article. It ever in the history of Major League Baseball, I don't know if it's 150 years now, that 2 brothers had their sons play. Now I immediately go to the Boone family because I'm like, oh yeah, the Boone. You got a lot of the brother thing, the Perrys and Of course,
Right.
Lou and Necro, and there's several. And when I saw that, I was like, wait a minute, there's never been two brothers with their sons. So that we also have a little bit of a baseball legacy as well with my brother and his nephew. And I have another nephew who was drafted by the Dodgers. Look out for him, Cam Leiter. Big size, it's what it looks like, comes out of his hand, nice. He's also a pitcher. Hey, I got to mention this too because you mentioned Dusty Baker, and it was hilarious. My brother Mark played for 9 teams in the big leagues.
Right.
He definitely had suitcase and will travel. And one of his years in San Francisco, Dusty was the manager, and we're in Candlesticks. It's my first year in the National League, so I was Yankees, Blue Jays, and then 1996 I signed with the Marlins. And I'm in San Francisco, and my brother is in the dugout. I get up, and I'm terrible. I was one of the worst hitters to ever stand in the Major League Batter's box. But I loved it, facing like these guys throwing $1 billion, and I'm trying to nick the ball. And I strike out. I look terrible. And Bake, just like deadpan, he leans forward, he looks down, and my brother was in the rotation at the time. He's like, Light. He goes, didn't you tell me you guys had a batting cage in your backyard? And it's like Matt Williams and Thompson and BB and all of them, Kurt Manway. He goes, what the hell did you guys do in that batting cage? Because he can't hit either. It's like funny. It's like,
oh,
yeah,
Dusty.
So, yeah.
Oh, I love Dusty. He's the best.
Yeah.
He's absolutely the best.
Like, didn't you tell me you guys had a batting cage when you grew up?
Oh, he's got the toothpick hanging out. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the playoffs, so you don't mind, because I know you're busy. We don't want to take all your time today, although I'd love to hear these stories forever. Give me your thoughts on what we're seeing out of the American League. The Tigers make it Cleveland, Boston, New York in that first round, and then I've got Seattle sitting there waiting, and then Toronto, who gets that first round bye, the number 1 seed overall last day of the season. Give me your thoughts.
So I think it's almost impossible to handicap. I really do. I think for years now, we can easily take the Goliath, give reasons why they're so much better. And they're going to the World Series. You pick 1 or 2 teams. What happened with the Mets and the collapse of, since June 13th of them being one of the best teams to one of the worst teams. I know it was starting rotation and just guys went sideways and et cetera. It's part of the game. I'm not saying this because I'm just being gratuitous. I really believe this is a season. We saw it a couple years ago. It's Texas Rangers making it to the World Series, and they played Arizona, who snuck in that year when the Cubs lost. And same thing for the Rangers. They ended up having to wait to see what happened to Seattle, and then they have been a wild card. And so I think the balance of all of these teams and the strengths and weaknesses. Honestly, when I tell you this, maybe not all the teams. I mean, there's going to be some teams that backdoor in. I think that it is 100% feasible that we could see not the Dodgers, not the Yankees. I do like Seattle. I think it took a little while for Seattle to eventually, get Suarez into it and Bo Naylor into the offense. Their pitching, I always like their rotation. I don't think this is a surprise at all. So what do you want me to do? If it was Seattle, I like Seattle. I really do. And for obvious reasons, I watched them a lot this year against the Rangers and just see what they're doing. I think their lineup is dynamic and balanced. I believe in that rotation. I like the back end of that bullpen. If they're in the ALCS, I am not least bit surprised, or go on to the World Series for the first time. Yankees, Red Sox can be super, super interesting. I know it's going to be in the Bronx tomorrow, but the talent is there. I will say this, Rich. I think there's a little bit of pretense to the teams that are the Goliaths. We'll start with the Los Angeles Dodgers, and I'll even put the Padres in there, that there isn't a sense of urgency, in my opinion. I think they play the game. It's about the long horse race to get to the last quarter. And let's make sure all of our players are healthy. They're feeling good. Most importantly, our rotation gets aligned and they're feeling good going into the last 3 weeks of the season and then into the playoffs. I hope that's not the case, because I don't ever want to think that Major League Baseball season, we talk about marathon, that it's not bastardized into, hey, let's just jockey all along and then get our ducks in order first week in September. To me, that's not good for clubs that have great fan bases that, watch out the 6 months of baseball.
So which would you rather be? The team that gets there and they win the division, they pop the champagne 10 days before everybody else, and they get to cruise, and guys get days off, and they get the rotation in order, and you think everything is going to be great? Or would you rather be that team that just never let off the pedal? They go in there with a head of steam and their hair on fire.
Yeah, that's it. I was I was part of a World Series team in Toronto when there was only two teams, right?
Right.
We had the East and the West prior to the lockout. 95 was the first year of wild card. I think what we have seen is there is a malaise for teams that are just cruising in. I think it's hard to turn it on. I think it's hard to turn on the slamming the table and getting pissed off. I think the intensity of the last few weeks of the season of playing like it's a game 7, I think it gets players prepared for actually a game 7 or a do or die, as we're going to see in the next couple games on Tuesday and Wednesday. I think it's a little bit about, if you're telling me what I could have, I would like for my guys to be aligned with the intensity of having to play meaningful games right to the end, and aligning my rotation so that I have my top 1, 2, 3 going into whatever respective series.
You've got some rings, so I'll ask you this: which is tougher, the mental part of being locked in to be that team that's grinding, or the physical nature? Because after 162, nobody's healthy. You're all beat up. You're all exhausted. So which is harder to overcome, the physical ailments or getting your head right to have that intensity? Because there is a whole other level that you're getting to once we get to the postseason.
Okay, good question. I think I think it would be the physical. The caveat. Give me, is it an experienced playoff roster?
I was going to go there next. Are they old enough? Are they so young they don't understand they're supposed to be feeling pressure? 2008, I was a Tampa Bay Rays broadcaster. We didn't know we weren't supposed to be there. We were just having fun, and before you know it, they're in the World Series.
Yeah, and I do believe that about the Rays and other teams. The A's are another one, and other clubs that just seem like, we've got nothing to lose.
Whatever, dude.
You saw with what happened in Miami this weekend, 2 or 3 against the Mets. I saw them up front a couple weeks ago when they played the Rangers, and that's a scrappy ball club that's got a lot of good, young, talented players. I would take the physical. I want to make sure that my guy – look, I think I just read an article, was it this morning or yesterday? The Dodgers, I don't think they have they don't have a starting pitcher over 150 innings. They don't have anybody who's –
No.
They did a litany of statistics of their rotation. I know that they were nicked up and, not healthy from April till now.
It's so funny that you look at it, and again, Andrew was with me in Los Angeles as or in Tampa Bay, and now he's the general manager of the Dodgers. But I remember once Jim Hickey, pitching coach, worked for Joe Madden for so many years, put together a report saying, how postseason and the rest and getting ready, and he did a whole thing after that with the Houston Astros, just getting ready. And you see that now really with the wild card, you see more teams. I'm going to back off. I'm going to get everybody ready. But then there's that whole thing of just flipping it on because it's different. So I was going to ask you this next about postseason baseball. It's different. It feels different. They put the bunting back up. It's a little bit colder. The intensity's there. And now that we have these 2 out of 3, can we really find out? Will we get the best team overall to win? Or are we going to get the team that's hot at the right time?
I think we're getting teams that are hot. Look, let's see what happens. Obviously, we don't know what's going to happen. But if you look at the clubs that know that they have a playoff roster team, dare I say, my war outdoes your war. And I know that this is what these front offices now do with these analytics departments of shave their war points so that my team is a little bit more talented than yours. Doesn't mean you're going to win, but that's what they're doing. If I have 3 pitchers that I can rely on, that have plus stuff, that can throw strikes, etc., and I have at least 3 back-end arms that I'm gonna lay on, because this is a month's worth of baseball. Actually, I need 4, but I might be greedy when I say 4. Those are the teams that are really, really dangerous. And I'm not just saying statistically. I'm saying that matchup wise, the composition and makeup of bullpens, how they can counter or have a balance of another guy that's coming out of the bullpen. If you're looking at a lot of these bullpens, there's a lot of similarity with hard right-handed throwers. They have some kind of split. Yeah, and there's we just saw that guy. He threw 98. Oh, there's another one doing that. Okay. Oh, there's another one doing that. So I like the creative, different looks that relievers have. Now it's a little different because with the facing the 3 batters. Although, does that get blown up in the no, that they still use that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, okay, so let me go with this then. Good pitching always beats good hitting during the postseason. Why is that?
What do you mean? Why is that? I think if it was July 7th and we have Scooble on the mound against Crochet, are we looking at a 6-5 win? No. So good pitching happens to be the top 25, 30 starters in the game. And I'm being generous on that.
No, you're 100% right. And then if we shorten we're not facing 4s and 5s, we're facing 1, 2s, and 3s every day, right?
Right. That's right. So when you look at it, it actually is supposed to be. And I don't mind that. When I used to go into series and I would look and I would say, oh, great, we're facing some guy who just got called up. Like, the assumption is that my offense should get at least 5 runs off of that. That night, I should get 5 runs. Now, when I was going into a series and I'm facing Pedro or Randy or all the guys down in Atlanta, Smoltz, Glavine, and Maddox, I put my head in a place where I said, okay, my guy's going to have a tough time scoring. I might be able to win with 2. I'm likely going to get a no decision with 3, and I might even lose. Like, that was where I put my head. And it's not always the case, because you may face a guy who just got called up or he's got a 5+ ERA and all of a sudden he's in the 6th inning and it's a 1-1 game. You're like, how the hell is this happening? Yeah.
Where's this kid from?
Yeah. And you being down in Tampa all those years, I mean, they did a hell of a job with a lot of guys that produced and dominated with really good stuff.
Yeah. And then when you go, and I'm glad you touched on that, the ace versus ace, because you do have to take your game up, because you're not facing the 4s and 5s. You're facing 1s, 2s, and 3s, no matter if you make that starting rotation. A couple things I wanted to ask you about and I'm not sure. I didn't look this up. I should have. How tough is it for guys that are the 4s and 5s to now go into the bullpen and be effective, changing everything at the end of the season? Because those sometimes are the intangibles, those swing guys that you need to jump in there, because the manager's going to have a quick hook. I can't wait for Al to figure out his command today. You're going to get that quick hook, because especially in these 3-game series, I got to manage with a sense of intensity.
Yeah, that's a great question. And I'll be honest, that is a really good question. I would like to have known what some of these managers did, start with Roberts or Murphy or, any of them coming down the stretch with. Did they take their 4s and 5s, knowing that they're going to make the playoffs? They're not going to need their 4th starter until the division series. And were they pitching them out of the bullpen? Here's the biggest thing about bullpen. 2 things. You change your mindset is that it really is about the first pitch. You do not have a long leash. You can't give up 2 runs in the first inning and think, okay, I'm going to settle in. Your warm-up routine, you're surprising, and I was one of those guys, you can actually get warm and get ready to pitch in a big league game with a lot less pitches. So the preparation of, 7:05, I could start playing catch at 6:45. You don't need that. And then the utmost importance, 2 things for relievers. And even though as a long man, you're coming in somewhere in the 3rd or 4th inning, what we're talking about with the 4th or 5th starter, you have to be fearless and you have to throw strikes. Like, there's none of that. A manager can't let you see you dipsy doodling around, getting behind, creating crap, having traffic on the bases because you're walking guys. So, like, that would be my thing if I were pitching coach to that 4th or 5th starter. Don't be afraid. Pound the zone, get ahead, and throw strikes. Of course, do what you do to effectively be a good pitcher.
Okay, so how much do guys have left in the tank when we get to this point of the season? You've been throwing since February. You've gone through the season, might have been battling some injuries. When we get to this point of the season, how much do guys have left in the tank, or do we not even look at the gas tank at this point?
A lot. I will tell you, I don't know how many postseasons I was in, but 5 or 6 maybe, 3 World Series. Once you get there, first of all, it's a dream come true. Right. You start fantasizing about this. About hoisting the trophy, right?
Right.
I do have another one over here. And so you start thinking that. You realize as you get further along, all the teams, it starts narrowing. So everybody in the baseball world's watching these games. I never thought about, boy, I'm really tired. Oh, boy, I could use a rest. Hell no.
That's why you have those trophies.
Listen, you know where your rest lies? Whatever that last start is, you have 5 more months before you're towing it up on the hill, either in Florida or Arizona. I had a game 5 in 2000. We lost to the Yankees. Pitched game 1 in 5. I threw 143 pitches. I, to this day, thank Bobby Valentine for letting me go out in the 9th inning. I struck out the side in the 8th. He had
because he was getting second guessed about that.
Yeah, it was 2-2. It was 2-2
yeah.
in the 9th.
What are you doing? Put a lighter back out there. Go to your pen.
Go to your pen. But you know what? I was pretty good. And I think he looked at it as, you know what? He gave up 2 solo jacks. And so Dave Wallace was our pitching coach. I just struck out the side or the 2 guys, or maybe struck out the side in the 8th. Come in. Bobby V has Dave Wallace to go down and ask him how I feel. How the hell else do you feel? I'm in the 8th inning of a 2-2 game in the World Series. I feel great. Leave me alone. Go over there and tell him to bring me back out for the 9th. I get the first 2 guys out in the 9th. And then it was a walk to Posada. Next guy, Brocious, a little doinker to left. And then the very next pitch, Luis Sojo, a little chopper, 20 hopper up the middle. And we lost the World Series. But I thanked him for it. And my logic was this. I wasn't, whether I pitched 110 or 120, or in this case 140, I wasn't going to throw again competitively until February 28th in Port St. Lucie.
Would that happen now with the analytics?
No.
With people bringing stuff down? Nobody is ever going to be in that position again now.
No, God, no. I just saw on the, I'm going to have to look on my app here, the 200 innings. Now, look, yeah. I know there's stuff, right? I mean, there's reasons why we're watching what we're watching, but how many 200 inning pitchers do you think there is this year?
1.
3. Webb, Crochet, Sanchez with the Phillies. 3.
That's it.
All right. When was Bret Boone's last year in the big leagues?
Oh, he's been out 20 years.
So we'll go to 15.
Yeah.
All right. How many think his last year in the big leagues?
Probably a dozen.
28.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, just completely
forget about going back to the 70s and 80s. And
no.
And I'm not doing it like, oh, we were so much better.
Get back in mine, yeah.
That's a snapshot of what Bobby V did for me to keep me in the game, to let me finish. And I appreciated that. The 163rd game we played in Cincinnati, we had to win the game, and I threw a 2-hit shutout. He let me finish the game. It's like he wasn't like, hey, let's save 15 pitches for 5 days from now. Like, it just, I don't know. I think it's part of the training. It's part of the mindset. I came up with guys like Ron Guidry and, Rick Roden and John Candelaria and Tommy John.
You talked about Tommy John, right? Tommy John's one tough son of a gun.
Yeah. And there was no like, hey, give me 5 1/3. Like, it was like, if you
go 5 hey, is it get him? Hey, go 5 and dime. Get ready. I'm ready to come. Come on, let's let everybody else. And they're going to throw in somebody else throwing 105 miles an hour that throws harder than me.
By the way, I'm not saying it like a tough guy at all. Because this is where we are. But I think we have really good pitchers with really good stuff. There's a reason why they start the game. And if it were me running a club, I would want that guy in the 2-2 game to go out for the 7th, than potentially having to use 4 or 5 guys to get the last 9 outs.
Okay, Boone's going to get mad at me because he's going to say this is a clown question, but I want to know this from you. Pitching during the postseason versus pitching during the regular season. So a couple pitching coaches I've been around, they would talk about the duress that a pitcher would have. So if he's at 100, if he's at 50 pitches, but they've been 40 of them have been under duress, runners on. Let's multiply that a little bit because it's gonna wear on him being under duress, throwing from with runners on. Postseason, do I worry about the duress because there's amped pressure and then you have everything else on top of it, or does it feel the same once we get going after you throw the first strike?
That's a good question. I would say 100% stressful pitches definitely factor, especially in the benign first couple innings. You throw 32 pitches in the first inning, you got out of it with 1 run. The second inning, you threw 29 pitches, you threw a scoreless, somehow you got out of it. And then the third inning was kind of squirrely. And all of a sudden now I'm going in the fourth inning, I got 75, 80 pitches. And now I throw a scoreless fourth, scoreless fifth. That accumulation of 105 pitches is a lot different than doing it in 14, 15 pitches. I will say there is a factor. This is where I think coaching would help because just there's a reminder. I was watching a game the other day, and I don't know who was in there, but it was the pitch count was kind of getting up. It might have been the Mets game with Holmes. And I was hearing, I was like, well, it looks like he's getting tired. No, he's getting under his slider, and he's not finishing. Hey, Holmes, finish. Or in the dugout, like, hey, man, the ball's up. Are you tired? Your arm hurt? No. God dang, finish that son of a bitch. Try to bounce a few, bounce your changeup, bounce your slider. It's harder to throw it down than up, and then work your way back up. That's a conversation. That's like, oh, his spin rate is off. The axis is off. No, listen, you're getting lazy, so I'm gone. Get in there and finish it. That's the conversation that needs to be had because that resonates with me. I'm like, yeah, I got it. Well, then do it. As Jim Leland used to say.
Right.
Jim Leland used to say, if you ever told Jim Leland I tried, you started out with I tried. What happened there? I tried. Try. I got my landscaper to try. I need for you to do it.
Well, that's what Bret's doing right now. Why? That's
Jim, hey,
I tried. Well, that's what Bret's doing. That's why I think
you get Skip on there with Jim Leland.
Well, for Bret, I think that's why CY and Boch wanted to come in because he's not going to talk about exit velocity. He's going to talk about, hey, guys, get up here on the rail and let's watch this pitcher, see what's going on. Let's talk about the game. And I think between him and Edgar and Seattle, I think hopefully we'll see the pendulum go back because I don't want to go back to the caveman days, but I do want to have good baseball men have all the information and then make it available. When I worked at Joe Madden, he used to tell me, you know what? If I'm having a conversation with Evan Longoria, it's going to take 30 seconds. Anything after that, I'll lose his attention. Carlos Pena, if I'm going to have a conversation with Carlos Pena, get ready because it's going to be 5 hours because he's going to want to have a philosophical talk. Managers, coaches have to be able to speak the language of each player, and you can either use a little bit or a lot of or whatever gets them across the hump.
Yes. And I was hopeful as well. I get that talk, and I think we could give players a lot of information. I think it becomes alphabet soup for a lot of guys. I think there's a simplicity to it all. It's like you said, it's not Neanderthal stuff. It's just let talented athletes do their thing without being subjected to, wait, what did he say? After Leiter throws 2 fastballs and he's behind 2-0, I get 78% of the time he throws a slider. Like, what? You have 12 seconds to like see ball, hit ball. Yeah, I could get into the whole thing where baseball's trying to like level the playing field because it's harder to hit. I got a whole conversation. I'd love to hear Boone's opinion on it. Is count leverage. When I faced Bret Boone and I got ball 1, ball 2, man alive, he's gonna cookie cutter it right there, inner half. He doesn't throw it, I'm not gonna swing. If I go 1-2-0-2, 1-2-0-2, I got 2 pitches to embarrass you. And if guys continue to swing with their A swing, that's why you have high strikeouts. Not because dudes are throwing 98. Shit, my kid throws 98 and he gets whacked. You got to throw other pitches.
Well, let's bring this up before we get done here, and we appreciate you joining us today. There was a little bit of ownage on your part with Mr. Boone. Maybe that's why he's off doing his meetings today. You owned Bret Boone. Give me the book on Bret Boone. Let's just bury him since he ain't here. I want to bury him. Let's talk about what it was like to face Boone.
Yeah, I'm not burying Bret, but there
will.
are certain matchups that there. I'll say this: there's better matchups, right? And Booney was so damn hyper in there, and he was
right.
like, and I'm being left-handed. I came in on him, and it looked meaty to him because from the left side, the ball cutting in, which I threw a power cutter that it just my matchup to Bret Boone was one of those like good. Like I match up just like I matched up with Vladimir Guerrero.
Right.
Vlad was like 0 for 30, and I threw the same high cutter. He'd either miss it or pop it up, and so I think Booney, I got in there pretty good, and he wanted extension. He wanted the ball out over, of course, nice little fastball out over, and I didn't give it to him.
Well, no, by the way, Al, just so you know, we talk about you on the podcast quite a bit because he couldn't touch you. He said he knew it was coming in, but, he gets so hyper in there because, like he described himself, played with his hair on fire, couldn't touch it to save his life. So you're
and I would tell him now is that I knew those guys, and what he thought was a strike, I just continued to move the ball further in off the plate. So the guys that were looking for my pitch, I knew those guys, and I would move it further and further. Craig Biggio was that way, and who else did I used to go in there? Handful of guys that just I'd follow them in, and before you know it, they're swinging at the ball that's 5, 6, 7 inches inside.
Absolutely, Al. We appreciate you taking time joining us on the program. It's been fun, and I learned a lot. And Bret wanted to say hi again. I think he's still in those end of the season organizational meetings, but really appreciate you coming on the podcast with us.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
All right. Hey, everybody, that's going to do it for the Bret Boone podcast this time around. We'll talk to you next time.